Okay, so now we are live for real. And I'm gonna start the recording here. Okay. So anyway, so I don't know if I should reach out to Mr. Americk.
Please reach out to him.
Okay. You're so off track. You probably forgot about us. Anyway, I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Yeah.
Time flies too.
Yeah.
What was that? I can't wait for bedtime. Is it bedtime yet?
I know.
I had a long day today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You went to
long
work
day.
today?
And I didn't get done until 4. From 8:45. And it was a long day that was nonstop. So I can't wait for bedtime. I'm not even sleepy. I'm just tired. I'm not sleepy at all ever. I'm just tired. It's like,
yeah,
you're just tired, not sleepy. Your brain is just tired. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have no time to be tired this evening because we got some stuff to talk about.
I know.
And Rick,
but
text Rick. Where is he? He might have forgot.
I texted him. He hasn't responded yet, which is maybe a good sign. Maybe it means he's on his way. Let's do our introductions.
Okay.
And you want to start?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Venita, and I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. And we're going to read our story together, The Coming Plague by Laurie Garrett. This is my ticket in.
What did I do? Okay. It's been so long, it feels like since I've done a Zoom. Anyway, I am Michelle Odom. I'm in Brooklyn, New York. That's my ticket in. I don't actually have an agenda tonight, which is highly, highly, highly unusual for me. But we are on chapter 13, the first half of chapter 13, called The Revenge of the Germs, or Just Keep Inventing New Drugs. And so drug-resistant bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So that pretty much encapsulates what I got out of chapter. So I don't have an agenda. So, wherever you feel like taking us, Venita, please do. And what are our standard questions are like? What did you find interesting? What did you learn? I don't know.
Well, I learned and found interesting. I know that there are viral variances, which is what we're dealing with right now with Corona, COVID. And but what I didn't know is that so many viruses have become resistant to so many antibiotics that,
Right.
you know, I mean, for some viruses, there actually is no cure.
Right.
I mean, a simple one like gonorrhea. Okay.
Yeah.
40 years ago, 50 years ago, or at least I can go back far as, 45, 50 years ago, gonorrhea. I mean, you didn't, you know, antibiotic, regular stuff, nothing fancy. You would fit the ride. Today,
Yeah.
you're not so lucky. I can't even say you might not be that lucky. I'm saying you are not so lucky because gonorrhea had just, and I'm just using this example of a sexually transmitted disease. It's very well known, has pretty much knocked out every antibiotic there is around that used to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, you know, when that happens, of course, they move on to more, you know, they've already moved on to more expensive treatments, antibiotics, because some can be very expensive. I've had very expensive ones to treat certain bacterias. And I tell you, it's becoming a huge problem, even here in the United States, because everyone cannot afford those very expensive antibiotics.
Right.
And even when you have insurance, sometimes if that's the only thing available, they still aren't willing all the time to allow you to have it to your insurance paying for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's something I found very interesting, which is it's a big red flag. It's a huge red flag because we abuse antibiotics so much. And of course, remember in the 80s, they had a huge campaign to all the physicians, you know, because they were giving out antibiotics like hotcakes because you can't get them unless they give them. And until it started posing that problem. So that's what I found, information that I did not know. I always knew variants happens because you have booster shots for variants. I know a lot of times you have to use a combination of antibiotics. What I did not know is they're plumb running out of treatments with their arsenal of antibiotics.
Right. Right.
So some diseases just are resistant, period, to everything they have, and you're going to live or die with it, one or the other.
Yeah. And like the Muppet guy.
Yes. Henson. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought I didn't realize, you know, he had died like that. But yeah, like you, I found it surprising that they really are, you know, running out of effective treatments for things that used to be treatable, and that it's such a wide range of conditions that are antibiotic resistant. You know, not just sexually transmitted diseases. But,
yes, that's what I'm saying. I use it as an example because that's so common.
Right.
You know, I mean, the common is gonorrhea is if they're saying they're running, you know, they have nothing in their arsenal, they're at the very end. That's a huge problem. We have things much more dangerous out there than gonorrhea.
Yeah.
That short-term danger, not long-term danger, you know.
Yeah. And it was also I think illuminating for me to learn a little bit about just how difficult it is to kill some of these bastards.
Oh yes.
You know, that they resist high heat.
Yes.
They can resist disinfectants.
Yes.
They can live on soap.
Yes. And when I read that, I was just like, well, okay, we are in some serious trouble. I mean, these things are super.
Yes.
Are super.
How effective and efficient the microbes are at, you know, at mutating, at, you know, recombining in ways to that, you know, they're clearly smarter than us.
Oh yes. I think that they're one of the, other than at this point, domestic terrorism, they're probably our biggest threat. And I also, I thought to myself, you know, This is why you have to be thankful for every minute of the hour of every day
Right.
that you are alive. Because from what I'm understanding, you could be taken out at any second. I mean, not in a minute.
Right.
And viruses and bacteria, you know, they prove that to you. It's just like every day really is, every minute really is, because
I know, I think she says like in a square inch,
Mhm.
your intestine, there are more microbes living there than there are human beings on the planet,
yeah.
you know. So we are so far outnumbered by them.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's telemarketers.
Bane of my existence. So yeah, that how resistant they are is you know, and also, you know, just how much stuff you can pick up. You know, I guess we're all like little walking petri dishes, you know, but what you can pick up in a hospital and um, uh, childcare centers, schools, you know, just how dangerous those kind of environments can be. Was not news, but just a reminder that we're constantly putting ourselves at risk, you know.
I was
So
pools. I've never felt comfortable in pools.
swimming pools. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never felt comfortable in swimming pools with people in pools and all kinds of things going in pools. Unfortunately, there are people that, you know, do not leave the pool to use the restroom. That always had a problem for me. Although they have all these chemicals that anyone who owns a pool uses to purify it, so they say, these microbes are so smart. So they're out doing all that chlorine and stuff now. They're eating it like it's candy.
Right.
So, you know, but even before reading this, which I wasn't aware of that, my assumption was if you're using these chemicals, being ignorant to the facts that I know now, then it would be purify the water. Even then, I just had this creepy feeling about people being in the pool. I have to have my own private pool and just I'm in it, you know. But that is really, really super scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew hot tubs. I mean, hot tubs themselves have always made me afraid because you could just tell they ferment stuff, and that should be really personal. Again, I believe in these personal everything. If it's my hot tub, only I get my hot tub. I'm not inviting a friend. I don't want anybody there but me. But you know, that's really scary. Just ordinary activities that people do all the time you can put your life at risk.
Right.
You have an open cut. Anything.
Right.
I actually did have a friend many years ago, a very lovely person. We were much younger, actually in our 20s, and a virus attacked her heart, and she died. There was nothing, there was nothing to help her. There was no antibiotics or anything to help her. It attacked her heart, and this is a healthy woman, young woman, randomly. A virus got into her system, and what it attacked was her heart.
Right.
And that was the first time I've ever heard it. Yeah, it's just amazing how smart microbes are and how exposed we are to illness or death every minute of the day.
Right. Right. Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and when you were talking about the chlorine, I was thinking about she mentions chlorine in this chapter, and and I guess like the double-edged sword, because as far as drinking water goes, because overchlorinated, it is then another factor in becoming drug resistant.
Yes.
So that was interesting. Also, the talk about the livestock and all the antibiotics that get pumped into animals. Rick says, "I'm so sorry. I'm coming in 10 minutes." He's got a situation going on.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell him, okay, fine. So yeah, but I mean, it's not that it's news, but it's also not in the forefront of my mind when I'm eating a piece of chicken. How much stuff has been pumped. How many antibiotics have been pumped into the chicken and are now, being ingested by me.
Yeah, actually that started to bother me probably about 25 years ago. Is at that time I start actually buying only organic chicken with no antibiotics, no hormones, and no GMOs. So about 25 years ago, I started buying, I don't eat beef or pork anyway, but poultry, organic. And I really became concerned when Clint was in school. He was young, he was like, I'd say about 10, 11. At that point, not only were they putting antibiotics in everything, of course, children drink a lot of milk. They were putting hormones in everything to make the livestock grow faster, produce more milk, you name it, they were using it. And I started to notice the little girls, because a couple of mothers, you're chatting, and I got really concerned. Because those little girls are walking around and they're 11 years old with 30 ADs.
Oh yeah, I remember when that started happening. Yeah.
Right, and I think I discussed that before. And I got very concerned, and I was like, of course, evolution takes place, things change. We all, our bodies change to fit the environment. But there was no environment like that when Clint's 33, when he was 9 years old. Now, maybe now I can see, with all the other changes going on. But I'm like, wait a minute, because you always had that one mature girl, and she wasn't 10 years old. She was like 12, 13 and a half, or whatever,
right.
Or 2.
Right.
But for the most part, most of us 11-year-olds was pretty much walking around with an undershirt on or a trainer bra just because you wanted to, your mother wanted to patronize you and make you feel nice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was one of those people. Right. That's what I'm saying. 8th grade, I was going to graduate unless I got a bra. As a matter of fact, I have the picture because you can see through the cameras. Then were we didn't have the cameras we have today. We had the regular, Kodaks and stuff, or the other just regular photography cameras. And the camera, because of the exposure, it went through the dress and this showed these 2 flat white. Whatever it was, because it was like that bra, like 28 AAA. And I, it was like, okay, but when Clint was growing up, I started to notice a change, mostly in the little girls, you know what I'm saying? That's, the focus, because they have, I'm sure the change is going to little boys, but they probably were interior, exposed little girls, everything is exterior. And I'm like, well, wait a minute now, she wear like a 34 C. She in 6th grade.
Right.
Right. And then the other mothers, they're like, I didn't notice that. These are mothers that had boys. I'm saying it's on. I said, yes.
So you're saying that is a result of the hormones being pumped into animals?
Well, think about it. If they're using hormones in everything, and you are what you eat. If you eat potato chips, you are made of potato chips. If you eat green vegetables, you are made of green vegetables. If these children are drinking milk all the time and eating foods that's constantly pumped up with hormones, that's what they are. It's in your body. Same way that chickens are now growing in 2 weeks. They have pigs that look like actually look like something out of sci-fi. That they're putting so many steroids in, they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, something that you would not want to eat. I mean, literally, it's scary. So if that's the case, then it's natural. Little girls are getting, they were getting their menstrual cycles at 9. Now, you always had a few that was early, but for the most part, most little girls don't get their menstrual cycle at 9. Last I checked. Now, things obviously was different, but everything was moving faster. I started seeing hair developing on little girls and little boys. But that's when I started seeing the difference with little boys. When you see little boys maturing, opposed to having those smooth legs where you can't tell whether it's a boy leg or girl leg at a certain age. They were developing hair, lots of hair on their legs. And it wasn't hereditary. Not they had a hairy mother and father. They were like 10 years old with lots of hair growing all of their legs, which is a sign of maturity for boys. So I was getting very concerned because I remember having those discussions with quite a few mothers. I'm like, something, this is not good. This is not good. So I started at that point getting organic milk and trying to buy just mostly organic foods with no hormones, antibiotics. And that's when I actually I changed that probably about 20 something years ago to organic foods because I was really getting frightened looking at the children. And that's that's when they start having this all out campaign on antibiotics. It's when you start seeing things slowly hormone free, not raised with steroids or hormones. And this is when you start seeing it because apparently a lot of folks must have been noticing it besides me, like scientists,
Right.
So that's what's scary about that. And, I start, then you talk about children having learning problems or challenges or behavioral problems. Well, if your body is maturing from all these extras in your food system, what is that doing for your mind when your body is maturing and your mind is 10?
Right.
Like, all kinds of things is going on. So it really is scary. It's very scary.
Yeah.
Very, very scary.
Yeah. So we're just reading tonight, discussing the first half of this chapter. So I don't know what, the second half of the chapter has to hold. But it just, from what I was reading, it just seems like we're caught up in a vicious circle. Like, I don't know what the solution is. Like, like I hear what you're saying about changing how you eat. But in terms of using drugs to treat specific ailments, if we're not using drugs to treat specific ailments, like let's say staph infection, then what would we be doing? Letting the microbes have their way with us?
No, I think we would have to use
something.
Drugs are drugs are not bad. Drugs are good. We need drugs. We don't need to abuse drugs. Because a lot of folks die from very things that you would just, you would just go, my goodness, somebody actually died from that before antibiotics came out. That was a miracle drug, period, and still is. And even when the first type of antibiotics came out many, many years ago, actually they haven't been out that long, to be honest with you, relatively speaking.
Right.
Yeah, folks were just dying from any little thing. You can get a cold, a common cold, which is also COVID. It's a common cold that can turn into a respiratory problem. Some respiratory problems clear up on their own. That's why your doctor tells you to drink plenty of fluids, get plenty of rest, but many, many don't. Then you pretty much were a goner. And that's why it seems like, how many children die before they reach the age of 8?
Yeah, I've been doing this family project, and I was looking at some information about my great-grandmother, my paternal great-grandmother. And I saw that she lost a son when he was 3 years old. So I have no idea what it was, but this is like back in the early 1900s. And I think antibiotics came out like 1940s. So, it's probably an example of what you're saying, just, an everyday kind of occurrence.
Yeah, this science in general can be good and bad, because there's always a yin and a yang to everything in life. My mother also lost her sister, beautiful, when she was 4. Her name was Peaches. And they just pretty much brought her home to die. She had a brain tumor, and they said it was inoperable. Inoperable went along with poor. Today, and the type of brain tumor she had, even 25 years ago, 30 years ago, she would not have died. Today, she definitely would have died. First of all, they have robotics. Second of all, even if you're poor, in the United States of America, we can find a way to get you the treatment that you need. And there are many treatment options. So, and that's very sad to talk about and hard to talk about to the day. Really is. Really sad. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot when you think about it.
You had said earlier, you were talking earlier, comparing the mutations they talk about in this chapter to what we're seeing happening with COVID.
Yes.
And the many different, and the thing is, and that was another thing, I guess, a bit surprising for me in this chapter, was that some of these microbes have like hundreds of variations.
Yes.
Mutations.
Yes.
It's not just like you get the black shoes or the blue shoes.
But no.
They have hundreds.
They invite friends and family and people they know, microbes they know, everybody come on down.
Yeah.
And everybody bring their special set of stuff with them. That's how I look at it. All this little soul, and everybody bring their stuff, because we got to fight these humans, because they're trying to get rid of us with this thing called antibiotic. But guess what? I'm calling Harold down here. Yeah, I'm calling Harold down here. And Harold called Susie, and they got all their friends and family together, and they're fighting against us every minute, every second of the day.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is the beginning for us. This is the beginning for us. I knew it was coming because, But this
Yeah,
is the
that's what
very
I was about
beginning.
to say. This is
Yeah.
just the beginning of the mutations of COVID.
Yeah, it's the beginning. However, we can also thank the folks that used to terrorize the nation, the folks and folks that they terrorized and helped to terrorize the nation. If we'd have got this tight and had those vaccines out there, you know, we had a plan, da 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 da. Also, the plan not just for the vaccines, but to cut down the amount of people that were getting affected. Then we'd have had a more fighting chance. But now we got mutations already happening, and we haven't addressed the problem had not addressed the problem properly of cutting back on the amount of people that were affected.
Right.
And on top of that, the vaccines. Well, if you get one, if you want one, depends on what tier you're in for the time the vaccine is supposed to be given to you or offered to you. You're talking about every day it changes. Even since our present president is in the White House, mind you, although Fauci said he didn't have to start from scratch. What you talking about? Yeah, you do. It's pretty much scratch. Now he has to gain the trust of the country again before he can even think about administrating a vaccine that the previous president and his administration said that there was plenty of it in the White. They ain't even there. Yeah, he is. Yeah. So if Fauci said to him, like, you know, you trying to don't make it pretty because it's not pretty. And you know it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So they have to go through the task now of trying to get the logistics in order.
Right.
And meanwhile, here goes the variances. So you automatically know if you take that boost, if you take that shot next fall, it was offered to you, that's going to come with not only a second shot, but a booster shot. And by then we may have another variance. There's another booster shot. So, you know, you see the cascading effect. So the people are actually
Terry. Hello there. I think you're muted. There you go.
Hey, everybody.
See him.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm very late. Trying to put my plug in.
Oh, we're glad to see you. Glad to see you. Because, you know, I have been so distracted and off kilter and running like a rabbit on a spinning wheel, trying to keep up with myself. So I don't have an agenda or anything tonight. So we've just kind of been winging it. But give us your introduction. Tell us who you are, where you are, all that stuff.
I'm Rick. I'm from Queens, New York. Very happy to be here tonight. Just checking where. There it is. With well, ill-named. I'm not doing any advertisement, by the way, but it has a name we know. All too well.
I can tell the shape of the bottle, Rick.
Glad to see you. Glad to see you.
That's that corona.
I need it.
Well, let's see. What have we kind of touched on? We've touched on, from our perspective, not your wonderful perspective, but just how interesting it was that there are so many microbes that are resistant to drug therapy, are resistant to disinfectants and heat. You can't kill the bastards if you try.
Candida auris. Candida auris. We keep it under the radar. Epidemiologists. We don't talk to the public about it, but we've started 2 years ago because we need more people to come forward if they have that, or doctors who look for it, because we're scared shitless of this thing. Corona is fun compared to Candida auris. Candida auris is a fungus. There's this old 85-year-old Japanese lady in 2008, if I remember, or 9, they identified in her ear this fungus. Lethal.
Is this Candida?
Candida auris. And so just one case, we're all good. But scary stuff. South Africa, pretty much around the same time, somebody with a different strain of the same fungus. What? Then New York, Paris, Brussels, in hospitals. And New York, Mount Sinai, has condemned the unit. They don't talk
Wow.
about it because the person who died there, when they entered the hazmat suits, the windows, the bathroom, the soil, the clothes, the chairs, everything were positive on Candida auris.
Wow.
The
Oh,
guy had died a week ago.
Well, that
And
was shocking to me. And what one of the stories she tells in this chapter about how they had, scrubbed down this hospital,
yeah.
oh yeah,
and they could not kill whatever this was.
Mhm.
it's like we're discovering things about life we didn't think were possible. A few years ago in Chile, or is it Paraguay, there's a lake that's so acid. It's ammonia, if I remember, ammonia. Nothing should live there. We identify microorganisms in it. So it revolutionized our thinking, oh, maybe on other stars, planets, or satellites that don't have oxygen or water, maybe life can find other components. Maybe we're not right about what we think about what is a cell. But
Right.
now we're starting to think, even on Earth, there might be organisms that challenge our understanding of what are the conditions for life from a virus to a complex multicellular organism can exist.
Right.
Again, the brilliancy of science is also its downfall. It becomes too confident.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
forgets that since the dawn of science, pretty much what we call science is pretty much dates to the Greeks, not because they were European. The Greeks are more, surprisingly, when you read the Greeks, they don't sound like Europeans in that time. They sound Oriental in the sense that it's not Western civilization. When people say we descend from the Greeks, it's stupid. The Greeks were really unique. And you can't, Europe and America can't say they defend from the Greeks. It's mythology at that point. But the Greeks, who invented pretty much modern medicine, the idea of modern medicine and maths, were unique and so incredible at that time. They already, realized that the problem with science is that you're looking for one theory to unify all. And the Greeks thought it was philosophy. It was a
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
failure. Then later, they thought the only way to unify knowledge is through theology, a failure again. So in the Middle Age, they say, no, the knowledge of this earth cannot be compared to the knowledge of heavens, and they cannot be explained by one another because we're too limited. Then they moved
Mm-hmm.
on to, wait, gravity. Thank you, Newton. This is incredible. Inertia, the universal principle of all. Then Einstein stepped in and said, nah, no, not
Mm-hmm.
universal. We're looking for unifying theory for all instead of doing science, committing to the science, which is to observe facts. And yes, indeed, you need a theory to understand what facts you look for, but you need to be humble. And the only people who in science have always revolutionized sciences were the most dogmatic because they knew their theories so well that they were honest enough to say, wait, I know my theory. I'm the best in my field. This is not normal. This challenges the theory. Other people more mediocre will say, well, we probably made a mistake. Yeah. So the paradox, and this is what we need in science right now. And I'm sorry to say it, very authoritative people. Enough with all the mediocre people. We need people who are ready to take a risk in terms of science and come with bold hypotheses and be willing to test them.
Mhm.
But
We're not having that right now.
there's always this interplay between science and politics. And Dr. Harari, um, who wrote *Sapiens*, I wish you would read it, Rick. But Venita and I love that book. I read his whole series, I think. um, but he's actually among other things, because *Sapiens* is a history book, kind of looking at where this um, collision or marriage or connection point between science and politics started. You remember that, Venita?
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like, because in a sense, a scientist is similar to an artist. You know, it would be wonderful to just be a starving artist and just do your art and make the world a more beautiful, lovely place. Unfortunately, you still have to eat and you still have to have a roof over your head. And, you know, so inevitably you get drawn off into that other world. And so it's the same thing with science. Like, you know, and we're seeing
Only
it.
for geniuses.
Huh?
Only for geniuses. You know, the thing about, you're right. The for example, antibiotics could have been found a century and a half ago. It took the Second World War. When governments and states need something, trust me, like, oh, think about it. 1896. I'm gonna be a very chauvinistic guy. The Wright brothers weren't the first to fly. It was Louis Adair with his top secret airplane in France, but whatever. It actually lifted on the ground a few like inches, but it counts, whatever. So from 1896 to 1969, we go from a few inches to the moon, and we go from he died of cholera, he died of a fever, to yeah, he's got whooping cough, which would have stopped a village from functioning a century ago. What I'm saying is that that was possible because of two world wars. Because unfortunately, when governments need weapons of mass destruction, they also found the good technologies with it. Oh, we need the atom to destroy the Japanese. Oh, the atom also creates energy and X-rays. Nice. You know, it's the paradox of science that you're right. The problem is because it's a blind discipline. It doesn't care supposedly about politics. It's like when you say, I don't see race, you're ignoring the factors you need to take into account in your interaction. So scientists are like, I don't care about politics. So they get manipulated. And that's why you end up with brilliant people building weapons. Oh, I found a new way to pierce through any human body or shield, you know? And also I think not geniuses, basic scientists, they're mediocre in the sense that they don't apply to their own moral life the discipline of their science. And Musil, of Austrian author before the First World War, was talking about that, saying if you ask a scientist to apply his discipline to his moral life, he will be very uncomfortable. And you will always ask them, why do you have, you know, rabbit leg, or, you know, rabbit paw in your pocket? Why do you go to church? You're a scientist. And the reality is that people try to segment their lives, and scientists do the same thing. And Thomas Kuhn, a philosopher, noticed in the 60s that chemists, when you talk to them about physics, they talk about it in chemistry terms. They never move away from chemistry. And this is a big problem because physicists, chemists, like something people never realize, you can't explain the human body by physics alone. You need biology. But wait, isn't everything matter? We wouldn't need biology. Physics should be the only science. That was the perspective of philosophers for 2 centuries. We need one science, physics. It doesn't work. Because people have, how can I say that? It's no longer about objectivity. They share common language. When you over specialized, you're incapable of thinking outside of the box at one point. So
yeah, and in our modern COVID-19 situation, in the past few days, we've seen interviews with Deborah Birx and Anthony Fauci.
I want her prosecuted at the AMA. She should have. She needs to be removed from any institution. If she knew that false information was being presented, she should have denounced it like Fauci.
Right.
she didn't. So no, she her apology tour. She can say goodbye to her reputation.
Right, right. I agree.
Seriously,
Send her apology to her.
she's a doctor. She owes to her patients, not to the president of the United States. The president is just a man.
Right.
We had a discussion, Michelle. Michelle and I had a discussion yesterday about that same thing. And she also said a lot of her colleagues stopped speaking to her. Yeah.
Right.
You know, she said friends I had for years that know the value of my work and the integrity. No, we're dying. You didn't have any integrity then. And I've heard a lot of things on the other side too. Well, you know, being she's a woman and Cruella de Vil's brother, you know who that was, you know, stomps down women. Well, even
equality,
fiction, but
you need to believe in it, you know.
Even in science fiction books, you always had that Shiro. She don't care about all that stuff. She's going to get out there and slay them people. You know, I'm like, and then Dr. Burke, the only thing I can remember about her was her scarves. Look like Mr. Rogers.
And also, like,
right.
This is the other thing I remember about her is any doctor in the room, when somebody says, how about we use disinfectant? We inject it, you know, or super light inside the body. Do you want to burn the organs? And she's like, no, stand up and say, Mr. President, no, this is absolutely not possible because it would destroy the human cells themselves.
She tried to clean that up. She did try to clean that up.
No, you say it right away. You don't have to contradict the president. Say,
no.
Mr. President, I understand your idea, but from the doctor's point, we know now that bleach burns the good and the bad cells.
Yeah.
You can talk to him like a child. He'll be happy. Like, you see, I'm intelligent. She said, good idea, but you do it. Fauci did that. You know, he wouldn't say the president is wrong. He said, I'm going to say differently.
It was shameless, but I think it speaks to what you were saying, though, Rick, about scientists who are so tunnel vision, you know, that they're not taking in, you know, and the position of being a scientist with a direct connect to Donald Trump, you know, I have to say was a hell of a position for anybody to be in. You know, it was such.
Well, don't take the job.
Well, see, I was going to say that. She's retiring in 6 weeks. She's retiring. She mentioned that too, that she's retiring in 6 weeks. Okay, so what happened was she's also
but nevertheless, I also understand that in the normal course of your career, you don't develop, you know, Fauci had to have the Secret Service riding with him because of the type of stuff he was going through. You know, you don't, if you're a scientist and you're doing science, you're not expected to have hitmen.
But he still,
but he still
stood up. He still stayed. She had a choice. She could have, if she could handle Donald, she could have resigned.
And also,
she'd been better off to resign than to stay there like she did.
Or not resign. Just again, she could have just spoken up.
But I'm saying if she didn't choose to speak up for whatever reason it may be,
brave.
Because of courage, that's right, or whatever the case may be.
But she had the courage, you know, in front of Donald Trump after he said something during the press conference, when somebody would ask the same question, said, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that this, no. Not saying the president is wrong. You don't have to say that. You just have to say something different.
Right.
She didn't even do that. She, remember, even she had to restrain herself from doing, when he talked about disinfectant, because it's a reflex in her to be, I know it. I do that all the time with clients. I'm like, yes, of course. You're incredible. That's because she wanted to play a certain game. But you know, all scientists know, no, by definition, 90% of the scientists in this world, it's only the Western world for the past 7 years have been threatened or constantly threatened. Why? Think about being in the. I know some Iranian friends who don't study nuclear science. Why? They get slaughtered by the Mossad or the secrets of the US CIA. Of course, because, oh, you could help build a nuclear weapon. I don't intend to work in the industry. It happened several times over the past decade. People just, engineers in Iran going to their car, boom.
Wow.
And it's, if I were at the head of a government, it's a great strategy. Destroy all the people who understand physics in Iran. They will never build a bomb.
Right.
But you have to be cynical. That's why I will never run for office. You would all hate me. I would be very smiley, and unfortunately, a lot of people get hurt. The problem with power is that, like Obama said it, the problem with Obama is that he discovered that the job needs you to be a sociopath, and he's not
Right.
one. He's not a sociopath.
Right.
Proof is he talked to Republicans, say, "Hey, let's find a compromise," which shows he's very sane.
We're in a situation now, though. You know, I mean, okay, so last week we didn't meet because I was tired. The week before that, we didn't meet.
Didn't we? It was
We
the
did,
week
no,
of
we
January
did meet.
6th. We didn't meet.
January 6th, though, you know, we didn't meet because all hell had broken loose.
No, the rednecks wanted a field trip to the Capitol. And, you know, they, what really, I got to find you that video from Jordan Kepler. He was in the crowd with Trump voters during the Capitol riot, and he's a guy from the Daily Show. And he met a guy with a pitchfork before the riot. He's like, why do you have a pitchfork? It's a symbol of, you know, what they do in the movies, the people. And he's like, yeah, but rarely the good guys, right? And the guy was like, and you're like, yeah, he's right. The pitchfork is people are running after Frankenstein. They don't understand he's different.
Yeah.
Which is,
yeah.
I just realized the moral Frankenstein. Oh my God. It's because he's different. Oh, sorry. It took me.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I mean, so I guess I guess my point with that is you know, I hope Biden does not pull an Obama, you know, in that sense. You know, there are too many signs already that these folks are not going to actually be punished at the level that they should be. And, you know, and if it goes down like that, you know, I think that's just giving a license to that kind of person to continue this might makes right kind of approach to politics. And so you might end up being the perfect person to run for office someday, Rick.
Oh my God. Well, Putin, by the way, has been, I think what Navalny did is one of the most brilliant political moves in history that shows that how you can use this might against itself. Because you know what Navalny did? What, you know, like he's coming back to Russia, he's insane. Being poisoned for the genitals with Novichok agent. I don't know how you survived that, by the way. But it's 99% death rate. It's the most powerful agent in the world, and it was stupid idea from the scientists. He released a formula in 2006 on the internet saying, to prevent this, we scientists need to know how to recognize it. Yeah, sure. And Al Qaeda was like, Christmas. Well, not for us. So how we call it? You know, like they're like, how's our Christmas? What's our Christmas? And this guy comes back, and he's imprisoned. But here's the deal: his wife releases a documentary about his villa and his corruption. Putin. People start demonstrating. If he kills Navalny, the riots will increase. If he doesn't kill him, the riots will increase. Brilliant. Navalny proves to us that there are still people ready to die, really, truly die and suffer for what's right. Because trust me, you were poisoned with Novichok agent, you go back to a Russian jail,
He's crazy. I think it
I think
affected
he's
his brain.
incredible.
I think he had lost his mind. When I saw that, even my husband was like, "But why is he out of his mind? He is in Russia,
I
right?"
thought the same thing.
It's like and we were like, "Well, why would you go back there? You would never see me again in life. You would never see me again."
I'm good. I understood the message. Thank you very much. I'll bury myself. I will never talk to you about you again, Vladimir. And the guy's like, you know what? I got balls. You're like, oh yes. People say I'm a strong man. No, this is a strong man. This is a guy who doesn't need muscles.
Right.
I think I'm blown away because it's working. Putin was never threatened that badly in Russia. People are revolting.
Right.
Impressive. And again, it shows us that, you need to trust history. Don't intervene in other countries' stories. That's what Clinton did in 2012. And Putin decided to punish her in 2016. He did. And I think he's relieved that Trump is gone, because I heard about the first conversation with Biden. I think he needs to, Trump did what we needed him to do, destroy your country for us to conquer the Middle East and the northern regions of Georgia, plus the Donbass and Ukraine. Thank you very much. And we increased our presence in the world regardless. Thank you. Now it's enough. We need to renegotiate armaments deals. We need to renegotiate for COVID. So I think horribly Putin won. He got what he wanted. Because you look at his presence in the Middle East, nobody, I'm incensed by that not even CNN or, no journalist mentioned that. Every American troops that were removed from the Middle East, their bases were taken over by Russian troops. How was that not mentioned by the media? It was mentioned several times, but like discreetly, like, hey, by the way, fun story, fun fact, the base we abandoned in Syria, now it's Russian airplanes.
Right. Rick, do you have any on the chapter, any commentary or comparison to make to the mutations of COVID that we're seeing?
There's one thing that the book it's approaches without really mentioning it, because it would go really deep into biology, but the fact that we have new strains is also due to the fact that vaccination is indeed starting, so new strains date prior to that. But when people start to develop antibodies naturally or through vaccination, which after a year of over-contamination is the case of a lot of people who got sick or didn't, but still have antibodies. What's happening is that the virus has a problem contaminating at that point. There are not enough hosts. So what the strains are is that in areas where the virus is dying slowly, virus mutates constantly when it duplicates itself. There are anomalies in the translation of the different proteins that define DNA to RNA, and in the case of a virus, the same thing for a cell. So the anomaly, that explains also cancer sometimes, the anomaly most of the time dies. It's not important. It's just, it was an anomaly in the transcription of the DNA to the RNA. But sometimes one anomaly sticks. Why? Because it increases the ability of the virus to multiply despite drugs. It's resistant to the drug, or it's resistant to the vaccine, or that's the thing we fear right now. I can tell to our messenger RNA, hey, you're a signal like a computer thing. I don't look exactly like the other one you programmed me with. Oh, so you're not a virus. No, I'm good. Can I move on? Yeah, sure. Move on. The antibody doesn't see you. That's the biggest fear. And the strains, the problem is that because the paradox in life is the more you oppress life, the more it kicks back. Yep. The more you try to destroy, like cockroaches are the proof of that. They've evolved so many times. Like you kill 1 million rats. Well, the rats that didn't get killed by you and evaded you because they had qualities that other rats didn't have, and probably other rats looked at like, you're a freak. Make them the main strain, the main species. And that's how humankind appeared. By the way, we were monkeys in forests, and the fear is that at one point, a catastrophic event happened. where a forest burned down or there was an earthquake, and all these monkeys ended up on the ground being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, where are the trees? How do we climb? How do we move around? And the monkeys that were freaks that couldn't really climb that well because they had strange hands down there that weren't the same as usual and could stand up, which was very strange. These freaks prevailed. Others got eaten by saber-toothed tigers and whatnot, and these guys just like, hey, we can run. Well, I like that. So that's what we call active speciation. Is that it's not that a species voluntarily adapts to the environment, is that the freaks, the disabled, the people with strange anomalies that in a certain ecosystem are anomalous, outside of the ecosystem, in the new ecosystem triumph. And in mankind, for example, diseased pygmies, they have a high white cell count and they have low red blood cell count. The reason is an anemia, which is a disease. And you look at pygmies, they have gray skin. They have anemia. They're black, but look at their skin. It's grayish. And the reason of that is because of how much white blood cells they have. The reason for that is that their ancestors who had too many red blood cells couldn't live in the rainforest. Too much oxygen, over oxygenation of the brain, which makes you lazy. And the small guys that had anemia triumphed in the rainforest because they had enough oxygen and they blocked through that, that low red blood cell count, what in other areas would have killed them. Zulus, very tall, not a single hair. Why? They're in the desert. Those that are tall have a bigger area to remove heat from their body. And no hair because it's heat. So they triumph in the desert, but they probably come from, like all of us, the same mix of different bodies and stuff, but depending on the environment. So in other words, you're a freak only because you're in the wrong environment for you. But it doesn't mean you wouldn't become the majority in another environment. So that's why the whole discussion about racial features is stupid as well, because it's what's fascinating about evolution is in the human species, the fact that we have different skin colors, different body types, proves our ability to conquer beyond our ecosystem, and we're not working together instead of, so the interesting thing is that racism is anti-scientific, because even if there are different features through the different ecosystems where ancestors were concentrated, they make us more powerful together, because it's like a superhero team. You're strong in the desert. I'm strong in the rainforest. I'm strong there. I'm strong. We're not doing that. And it's the same thing with diseases. We could conquer diseases if we fought like that. Like, okay, who's at risk here? And the reason why you have surges right now is because kids don't get infected, don't die, but they're transmitting. They're the railroad station where all the trains are coming. They go to school, they see other kids that go to other apartments, and so on. We need to close schools down. I'm sorry.
Oh, I heard today on The Daily, which is a podcast of the New York Times, and it's just like one story. Michael Barbaro. He was interviewing their science editor, Don something. But anyway, he was talking about, it looks now like close to 100 million people in the US, about a third of the population has been infected with COVID and likely have the antibodies. So even though we've got almost 500,000 people dead because of COVID, we're well on the way to that kind of herd immunity that apparently the predecessor wanted us to.
Not close. HIV doesn't grant herd immunity. It's a retrovirus. Venita, you're on mute.
I also heard too, that may be true, but how long does those antibodies last? They don't know
2
if it
to 8
lasts for
months.
6 months,
2
3
to 8
months,
months,
8 months.
depending
So
on the study.
how can you come to herd immunity when the antibodies may vanish at different times, which puts you back in the percentage of folks that can actually catch it again? Because you can catch any
Yep.
virus again, like the flu. People catch it every year. I don't catch the flu. Never had a shot. I'm just not the flu kind of girl. It doesn't attack me. But so I don't understand, how can we reach this herd immunity when so many of those key questions have not been answered?
And also they forget something. They never talk to people about what herd immunity means in Darwinism. Herd immunity happens to the next generation after the previous generation was over-infected and their cells mutated. The survivors are disabled. The first generation is disabled, has problems, but their children are resistant. But that's natural selection again. And the thing is that people don't realize herd immunity goes with a cost: disabilities, trauma from loss of a life, and etc. But also smallpox. Herd immunity was never achieved, despite infecting probably 50% of humankind at one point. Countries were devastated with smallpox. Herd immunity is a thing that happens over centuries sometimes. The flu has become less and less severe. My generation, the flu is like a cold to us. Seriously, it's just a cold. But we inherit from 4 generations that were infected with the flu. That's why. And that's what they're not telling people, is that it's insane. Herd immunity is something you measure on the scale of several generations. We talk about herd immunity of mosquitoes to hydroxychloroquine, but mosquitoes have 20 generations in 5 days. Like cockroaches. That's why they survive everything. Because those that don't survive, it's okay. We're having children again 2 minutes later. Those that survive.
So are you all feeling, how are you feeling about having a new president who believes in science?
The bar is super low.
The bar is super low.
I mean, it's so strange to see a functional government. You're like, wait, she's supposed to insult the journalists here. What is she doing?
Right,
She's a bad, press. You're supposed to tell him he's anti-American. What are you doing? I got used to that. And when Biden talks, I'm like, okay, it's coming. He's gonna say it's a nasty question. Wait, what? He said a good question. What do you mean a good question? It was a nasty question.
Well, have you even noticed that also
Which one
too?
was I?
Have you also noticed that that also the news commentators and journalists have been dressing differently lately? They still got that going on. I'm looking at them now. Before, everybody's backing up and they putting all kinds of stuff on. After Biden took office, I knew you had to do it for the pomp and circumstance on the 20th. But for some reason, they still feeling it. People coming in with women got nice, beautiful tailored dresses on, and I'm kind of feeling it. I'm like, this feels soothing. Okay, just do this for the next couple of months. I'm feeling that. The news, the males are coming in with their suit jackets, and everybody got a haircut, and they're still waiting. They're still doing that. Like I said, it was good for that night. I figured the 20th. But they were actually. It's been so uncivil and so nasty, and so back it up, bitch like, for 4 years that people are actually. Even the leftover hippies are like, okay, I'm feeling this too. Keep the suit on, keep the dress on, put you some stockings on your legs, so he is changing the feeling. I'm not conservative really. I'm just more live and let live. But I'm actually embracing this now, just for a few minutes, let my mind rest for a few minutes. You know what I'm saying?
It's also that, people complain about politicians.
Respectability.
Respect. Oh, don't say that too loud.
No, I mean, people complain always about politicians not speaking the truth. It's not that they're not
Yes.
speaking the truth, is that if a president doesn't say the perfect sentence, there's a
Yes.
risk that in Moldavia, a small terrorist group will attack the city of this, leading to Russia to intervene. You know what I mean? It's that the job is serious. That's why you
Yes.
speak that way, because you need to be very careful with your statements. Okay? Not like, we're going to bomb the shit out of them. Really? Oh, no, I meant, not really. Sorry, Iran. You remember when you said, we're going to bomb Iran? And Iran was like, come and get it. Really? Oh, no, they're pussies, but whatever. What I mean is that, it's all talk for Trump. And Biden just reminds us that it's like when you go see a doctor. If my doctor talked to me like, hey, bro, how's your cancer, bro?
Yeah.
I'd seek advice elsewhere. There's a decorum to the function.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
like a
there is.
gynecologist would be like, boop, no, it's not funny. What I'm saying,
that happen to me, Rick.
seriously, this guy needs to lose his license. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's just, you don't do that. You know what I mean? It's because your patient is in an uncomfortable situation. It's not funny. How can I say that? It's like people think, oh, it's a big deal. It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Decorum is important and reflects the respect you have for your function and for the others.
Right.
You know
and self-respect. Self-respect. Are we forgetting our thing? The trumpet around so long now that we forgot about the thing called self-respect.
That's a nasty question, Venita. That's nasty.
I know. I feel shame. I'm sorry. What am I thinking? I'm sorry.
Yes, you should be. You should be. OAN, good channel, OAN. Go ahead.
No, you're not supposed to say you're sorry, Venita. You're supposed to say, are you talking to me?
Oh, yeah. I'm just so confused now, but I try to hold on to my values, and I did. And I feel good about that, Rick. Through all this nasty, I held on to my values. And now we can get back to saying, yes, please, no, thank you. Stuff like that.
And I want a federal executive order. I don't know if it's feasible. No, I don't think it is. I think the Supreme Court and it's a legislative power, but we need a federal law that says that assaulting or harassing a minimum wage employee that cannot respond because of corporate policy and liability will be prosecuted as a felony, federal felony, and the person may face jail time.
And I believe in that.
We need to do that because it's enough.
Enough.
What happened was it in LA where these idiots anti-mask went harassing customers and employees? Yes. This is unacceptable. Yeah. How is that not a felony? It's not because the whole thing, oh, the client is king. No, you're not king if you're a piece of shit. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
I mean, we need to protect vulnerable people. We say all the time. So let's protect minimum wage workers from. Because they can't retaliate. They can't.
Yeah.
But I always tell to people that I witnessed doing that and I intervened. I got a guy was yelling at Dunkin' Donuts one day. And I look at the guy and say, hey, talk to somebody your size. And also I said, go get an education. That got him over the top. He was like, fuck. I said, no, go get an education was worse than all the insults. So I use that a lot now and it works. Oh my God, they hate it. Go get an education is like the worst curse you can say to an idiot.
Really?
Do it. They will try to assault you. There's a guy who's like, and what I do when they try to assault me is that I say, you punch here really good, please. And then I'm always surprised in New York City when I do that. People come to protect the guy from me. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, no, you're asking him to punch you, which means you'll use that as a pretext to kill him. I'm like, you know me a little bit.
No, that's not why, Rick. And I got a question for you, but that's not why. They think that you're challenged and they're protecting the guy.
I got my ass handed to me. I got in street fights in Paris for years. I got my ass handed to me. I know how it is to get a beating. I got scars in my back from a wound stab. I know the risk. It's just, no, I'm not going to live tolerating bullies. I'd rather die. And I know it sounds shallow, but enough. I don't
But
take
no,
it.
it's not shallow. I mean, I'm one to stand up. I will never be the person that sits
I'd
there
rather get
and,
beaten up,
and watch
Okay,
another
beat the
person
shit
fall.
out of me. Go ahead. Come on.
I got a quick question for you though, Rick, because we're running out of time and I got to get this in. I think the question is for you. What do you think? How do you think we're going to fare this? What do you think the future looks like? And I mean by future, out this year, next year, this time.
With the virus?
Yes, with the virus and mutation and the mutations, and the more mutations are coming. After this, I suspect.
Progress is going to be that people are all going to wear masks without any state mandate, and people are going to stay home without anybody asking them to. The bad news is because what they'll see. And it's 3 weeks' time. In 3 weeks, if my hypotheses are true about the new strains, we'll see the virus new symptoms that are neurological. But we'll see. It's just people have been toying. So.
But I've already seen. Have
you noticed how many people just die from celebrities?
Well, no, but there's also people now with this new vaccine. A couple of folks have suffered the side effects with neurological problems.
Oh yeah, but that's all vaccines. It's called Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's unfortunately something that happens with all vaccines. Usually the rate of these is 0.001% of the population, which is acceptable risk for the benefit. But when it happens to you, it can be temporary, still shocking and very brutal, or it can be permanent. It's like multiple sclerosis, if you will. It's the same kind of mechanism. So no, it happens for even the flu. And, vaccine skeptics use that a lot. And, I always say, yes, it's 0.001% when it's your child, it's still your child. It's like the bad lottery, if you will. Oh, yeah, there's more, you have more chances dying in a car accident or dying of cooking. Yes. But when it happens to you, it still happens. You know what I mean? It's statistics don't make it better. So it's serious. But what really worries us with the vaccine is what we're seeing in Norway. People over 80, since, when you get the vaccine, you get the symptoms, a little bit of the disease.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that these symptoms kill people over 80. They're too intense. So we're like, that's why vaccines take years to develop.
Yeah, but Rick, also, it's a question number 2 or a statement, then you can give your opinion. I'd like you to. Even for myself, they've already said that they have not had enough testing for people that have autoimmune diseases, teenagers, and children.
But you have an opportunity coming in, J&J. Fauci is right to push this one. It's classical technology. It's the usual technology. It's some RNA messenger, which means it's more flexible, which means that like for people, it will be 100% protection, others 70%. But that means you attenuate symptoms. And for immunocompromised people, we know how these vaccines work and how to dose them, which dose giving them, how long to observe in the office, we know. So this is AstraZeneca. I think you'll get probably the attenuated virus rather than the messenger RNA, because right now, my sister, she has like you, some immune things. She has an immunologist who tells her, okay, you'll do it in my office and I'll observe you for this amount of minutes. He knows what she has, like it's allergies, very strong allergies. So she might have an anaphylactic shock. So he knows to monitor her. But the problem is a lot of people, because of the free-for-all, the problem is that we're so scared by the virus that at one point we're going to be like, okay, anybody wants a vaccine, come in. We need to observe people. We can't just say, okay, go home. No.
What I'm trying to say is some people that have chronic debilitating and sometimes fatal diseases are already always sick. You know what I'm saying? So that's their concern. They're already always sick. They're already sick every day. So when you come put something else in front of them, which might make them sick, it's scary for them. I didn't say real
But that's
bad
why,
adverse
Venita,
reactions,
the
but
duty of everybody around you is to get vaccinated so that you can wait, so that you can have a choice to feel safe while the community immunizes themselves so that they don't contaminate you and you don't have to get the vaccine. That's why we're telling people get vaccinated, because some people can't. And people are selfish. Look at measles. What happened with measles last year? It was a warning shot. What happened in New York with measles? We should have been way more severe. I would have seriously prosecuted the rabbis. I don't care.
yeah.
At one point, it's not because you wear a dress and you believe in God that you are above the law. Enough. Oh, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, doesn't matter.
Right.
It's
Right.
just, but what
Right.
I'm saying is that the last time we said it's going to take 2 weeks or 3 months, last time it was said so certainly, and every month for past the first year they were saying, yes, it's delayed, but it's coming soon, it's coming soon. It was 1914, 1918. My great-grandfather went to war with flowers on his gun. We'll be back in 3 months, babe. They weren't. It took 4 years. And what I'm saying is that I think COVID is going to last 4 years in a shape or
Why?
another. It's going to evolve and change, and our whole world is going to change around COVID. Maybe in 4 years we'll be like, what's going to be strange is, I'm telling you, when we get older, we'll see people using masks as fashion items, not because we need them anymore, but because people can't think of their lives without them.
Well, when you get older, I'm at the end of my life, Rick, so I got to
No,
figure out
you're
what I'm
not.
going to do here.
Trust me.
No. You say that, but no, I'm really old. Michelle's not old, but I am.
If I pass away before any of you, you'll think of, you never know.
Oh,
I could die from COVID. What I'm saying is that right now, life expectancy is no longer an objective metric. It could be people in their 20s, people in their, except
yeah.
children. And I'm really thinking Children of the Corn, like in the horror movies, like our
Yeah, that was bad.
children are
Yeah,
coming to home.
that movie. Yeah,
I
I
have
can't
the
stand that movie.
virus. To me, it's just a little tickle here. Hello.
So we're gonna be masked. So you think that this is gonna be? I figured it would be around at least 2 or 3 years. Michelle and I already spoke about that. I knew it was gonna be around at least another 2 or 3 years. That's why people say I'm getting it. And another fear I have, and I'll make this.
We thought that from the beginning because
beginning.
there was so much BS from the beginning.
Yes.
And I
The
mean,
flu.
even the whole thing about Deborah Burks and the fuckery with the numbers.
Oh
my God.
To me, all of that was very clear in real time.
Yes.
That we were not getting the truth.
Yeah.
That people were cooking the books. That, all of this conflict was being orchestrated.
Yes.
So because of all of that, that's inclusive, because remember, here in New York, Rick, and Connecticut is part of our region, it was, okay, we're going to open up in 2 weeks. We're going to open back up in 3 weeks.
Easter.
We're going to open back up in 4 weeks.
Memorial Day weekend. 4th of July.
Right. Why don't they just tell us this is going to go on for, an extent? Because even here, with as wonderful as I think Governor Cuomo was related to this matter,
for 6 weeks. After that, he was back to his old self. Here's my new drawing. Right. Oh my God.
Right. But it's like nobody wanted the American people to know how serious, how bad, how long, how committed.
Because that meant that the government had to be accountable. You know what it reminds me of, this whole situation? The golden calf with Moses. So there's a pandemic. Let's call it our exodus. This pandemic actually frees us. We're discovering that staying at home, we can destroy the economy. We don't even need to strike or whatever. There's a there was this fleeting moment for a couple of weeks where people realized, wait, we're important, essential workers, but we're minimum wage workers with no healthcare. People started thinking. But then, instead of obeying to that divine inspiration and the commandments that come from there, they started being scared and want to go back to the old enslavement, which is the idols from Egypt. So they built with their gold, Netflix or the money or their possessions, a golden calf to behold. And so that's why Moses genocides them when he comes down, because you're like, wait, this is what people did. They moved on to golden calf. So it's entertainment, it's money, it's the economy, it's what about the children? You know, like you never care about children. They're abused all year. We have staggering number of children under abuse, but right now you're scared about what will happen to them if they don't go to school. People commit suicide every year. You never care about them. Oh, what about people with mental health issues? All of a sudden, you know, that's what I call the golden calf, is that for living our life, our usual life, our little comfort, we're willing to betray even God and his gift of whatever. And it reminds me of Judas as well. You know, I love God and I want to prove God is all powerful by betraying him, forcing him to reveal itself. So I will take money from the Romans. Then I hang myself. You know, it's like people are really idolize money and their way of life so much that, you know, seriously, they're starting again high risk sports in college because, oh, we have a protocol. It's not the question. Here's the thing. Let's take these teams and tell them, okay, guys, here's one condom each. You have an orgy. Oh, we're not gay. I don't care. You have an orgy with that condom. And just so you know, among you, there's one person with HIV or syphilis. Nobody's going to do it. Everyone's like, no way. You know, but no, with COVID, because it's from the nose, we're going to do it with a mask. Golden calf. Who cares about college basketball? Stop. Okay. Right. Oh, but it's important for the career of players. No, it's not. They're used by owners that don't give them money, take all the money from video games and stuff, and then, you know, when they get injured, nobody needs them anymore, right? And they become ponders. So stop. Right. You know, it's just it maddens me how much people always find an excuse to not do what's right.
Yes.
It's like a war. Yeah. It's like during war. Oh, I can't go to the concert hall. No, they bombed it. Can't they rebuild it? We're being bombed. Right. Let's negotiate with the Nazis. No. But that's what the French did. Oh, no, please don't destroy Paris. So beautiful. No, let's negotiate. No, I want to go to the concert hall. Seriously. Yeah, that's why my grandparents hated Parisians.
Another quick question. Another quick question for you. I want your opinion, Rick. Do you believe, and this is also for our audience to listen in, do you believe that the shots, the vaccine will also not work for us because people might get too confident and start really, you know, because they already had the vaccination? That's one of my fears.
Well, you're right, because think about vaccination like a boat that's leaking. Okay, if you just take a cup of water, a cup of tea to remove the water, and you don't plug the ship's going to sink super fast. What we're doing vaccines pretty much that. The only way the ship is not going to sink is if you have a huge pump to take away all the water and a good nail to clog it. We're not vaccinating massively enough for it to overcome the new strains before they become prevalent. So we're stupid. And that's why, you know, people are saying, oh, Pfizer, didn't you notice we had all the vaccines? All of a sudden, some companies say they can't deliver. There's a reason for that. Why would you focus all your production on a vaccine you know might not work anymore? You need to shift to because that's a waste of resources and the time you can't waste them. It's not about profit. Forget about profit. They already got the money from the government.
That's what I'm telling you. They paid.
Exactly. The problem is that, then we'll still have to produce new boosters. That's why Pfizer and Moderna announced boosters. Oh, it works on new strains.
Well, yeah, that's why I heard that. I knew it coming.
We're doing a booster. Yeah, because we're getting more and more information. And the genome is revealing new codes. Like it takes, people don't understand, we use supercomputers to translate the genome, because if you do it manually, I do it sometimes manually on some sequencing. They're big like that. But the sequencing is big like, I think my bedroom, if you would write in nanometers, it's huge. So it goes from the system and translates in 3D models, but it's AI. So the problem with AI is that it needs also time to learn, to understand the virus. So you end up with results that are contradictory at first. And then now, I mean, here's somebody I'm commending. I never thought I would commend Boris Johnson, Prime Minister Johnson. When this weekend he said the truth.
What'd he
Not
say?
just more contagious, more lethal. And that's why the UK is in its third massive lockdown. They're blocking airplanes. Japan is blocking all
I figured that
passengers.
much.
No, we need to block even commercial. And I am advocating we immediately use Interpol resources and NATO resources to seize all ships in sea.
See,
And
they're
to
not doing
verify,
it.
we need to verify everybody, because those ships, merchant ships, have a flag from Moldavia with a crew from Somalia, and a company which is in India, but whose CEO lives in Dubai.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These guys are shady, and so many people out there are not traced. And how many birds are on those ships? How many
Yes.
animals are on those ships? And
Yes.
you have cross transmission and new mutations. We
Yeah.
need to stop that. We need to stop all of these things. We need to do like I'm sorry, in science fiction movies, we shut down the world. We use the army not to go after people, but to increase hospital capacity, and we nationalize all companies for 6 months so that people don't lose money. Food chain are maintained. People who work in food chains get a bonus of $50,000 a month. I'm not kidding. These things are essential to survive, because I'm telling you, the next surge is going to reveal that a lot of people are just, the QAnon crowd and stuff. They'll switch to the idea that the virus, I'm predicting that, is activated more strongly through a new device. That it wasn't that strong.
But they're not telling. They're so shady even now. I know better. And I'm not a scientist. Just from basic common sense and being alive as long as I have. They're still being shady out there. With the new variant.
I don't think they're that shady. I think there's a big problem.
I just think they should come out and tell the truth. If I think they should really just say the truth.
I think they're not.
And it's not pretty, but this is what is probably going to happen with this variant. It's going to be lethal, or whatever the case may be. They're not doing that now. They're starting this massaging.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think they're shady. There's a good scene in Contagion in the movie where she explains to somebody in the health department what is the R naught. And the person's like, so everybody with hands, we can't close schools, etc. When I read a genome or an article, an abstract from China, from a guy who said, I noticed something in 2 patients.
Right.
Okay, it's anecdotal, but I understand what it means. I understand what he's telling me. He uses a specific language that, while still be scientific, is alarming, because we have concepts to determine, big deal. Oh, not big deal. Associated, causation, These articles are read by people like me and other people. We understand them. But journalists, CNN, Fox News, and even the New York Times, they have specialists, but it's so much information that you need to be careful, because 2 cases there develop meningitis, but maybe it's unrelated. I can't say that in a newspaper. It will create a panic. What about this? What about that? And it's when the paper comes back 3 days in a row for me, 9 meningitises. Wait, what? 9 more? Wait, that's not normal. They were 12 years old, and so on and so on. That at one point, 3 months later, say, lockdown, because it's a threshold of data. And the problem is that there's too much information, even for scientists, to make sense out of it, because you don't even have time to check the sources. Like the Lancet scandal. Wait, your database doesn't make sense. You have 5 million computerized health records from Africa. They are not computerized. Like only a few hospitals in a few select countries, but 90% of healthcare in Africa is done on paper, like old school. Just because, in the middle of the Great Lakes, you don't have enough electricity for servers. I mean, It's just basic, you know. And they got 5 million records from there. Of course, some people noticed and they were like, "Oh, sorry, the data is erroneous." But because it went so fast, people were like, "Oh, it proves something." No, it doesn't.
I'm talking about scientists, not journalists. I'm talking about from history and
The
them
top.
knowing
Oh,
what could possibly happen. I don't want to talk about journalists, but the scientists that we have that are there to say this is what could possibly happen. So I think because right now still a lot of people are taking it very lightly. I mean, I got 3 wedding invitations. 3 wedding invitations. Now,
you
why
can
would you
send them
say?
back. Give me
Well,
the
no, no,
number
no. It's like,
of
why would you
guests, and I'll
send them?
send them back the number of casualties they'll get.
What I'm saying is, why would you even send? Why are not only are you having a wedding, but are you going to send me an invitation that I have to decline?
And also, do they know about your condition? Because
Actually,
that creates something even creepier. I'm sorry, like what?
Yes, they do. These aren't
Which is
just
creepy.
people.
I'm
Right.
sorry.
So no, but what I'm trying to say is that period. Why are you having a wedding? Period.
And
During
wait,
a
are you
period.
inviting people who might be at risk on top of everything? I'm sorry.
And on top of everything, and if not at risk, you don't know if you're at risk or not. Remember, you're okay
Exactly.
till you're not okay.
You know, health, is
You
confidential.
might not know
Absolutely.
you have a heart ailment until something happens and you find out, oh, I didn't know I had a heart ailment. So no, you have to assume that everybody's at risk.
Yes.
But people are still, my point is, maybe if scientists really give them the hard, ugly, nasty historical facts.
Well, the problem is in
You know.
1918, the reason why people panic is that they didn't have morgues. So they threw the bodies up in the street.
Oh yeah, I read that. That was pretty bad. Okay,
But
that's
because it's always been like that with pandemics. Now it's horrible, but because thanks to the HIPAA and thanks to our refrigerated trucks, we're not showing that we have more bodies than during the Spanish flu. Well, we should. At one point, you know what? It's like car accidents. People who are drunk and court order tells them you go to a hospital and you have to tour the hospital with doctors. At one point, you have to do that.
Yeah.
It's a hoax. Patient number 1, do you consent to be seen by a skeptic? You're going to die. He told you. And the guy with all his rage, his last breath. Yes, show me the guy.
Right.
So you think it's a hoax?
Right.
And they are allowed to berate them before they die. I would love that.
Well, that's all I'm
If I
saying.
get to berate people before I die now.
That's all I'm saying is that it seems like people massage things too much. After a while, people get desensitized and they only see numbers up there. That's all they see is the number. They don't even associate a human with the number.
That many deaths.
Somebody needs to shock this nation into, because everybody, a lot of folks are living in, remember, this is one world, but everyone has their separate worlds they live in. A lot of folks are living in a world that I ain't never seen. So it's something, they need a shock factor, not just these running numbers of how many people died. Because for a lot of folks, it's just numbers now.
Mm-hmm.
And remember,
I mean, even I know that there are humans connected to it, and I'm not like this now.
Something crazy.
Because
when Dr. Phil,
you know what I'm saying?
Remember at the beginning of the pandemic, Dr. Phil said, "Why are we stopping the nation? There are 300,000 people who die because of swimming pools in America each year, and we're not doing anything." I was like, "That's a lot." Like I thought, if swimming pools kill 300,000 people, we wouldn't sell swimming pools anymore. I mean, there would be. It's like there's a problem. 300,000 kids die every year of the 300 what bulls genocide American kids. No, it wasn't true. But that shows how twisted people are to think these numbers are okay for swimming pools. People are like, what he said is not true. I said, for a psychologist, a therapist, thinking the 300,000 casualties of swimming pools is okay, regardless. the twisted mind, seriously.
Before you got here, Rick, Venita was talking about she's always had a little fear of swimming pools and hot tubs.
I share that fear. Hot tubs are the next clusters for the next pandemic. I'm telling you.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. No, we were just talking about how resistant these microbes can be to hot water, heat, disinfectant,
Yes.
all of that. And so I don't know. I did hear on another subject, I did hear today, Venita, that right now it looks like coronavirus is slowing down.
I heard that today, yeah.
There aren't as many hospitalizations. Rick?
So
Everybody
that's the
done
curve
died,
of the old
Michelle.
strain. At the same time that the curve of the new strains
Strain is
appears,
coming
called
up.
natural selection, the old strain is dying. So we are having what we call the crest of a wave. The wave's coming back and brutal. Oh no, I'm sorry. At that point, it's for me, it's a Monty Python. It's like I'm seeing, lemmings, people going to their death willingly, and I'm like, I can't. Is it natural selection? Is that how life finds a way to regulate human population through moronic people? Oh, here's a virus that's simple to prevent. Make it into a pedophile ring thing.
That's a good
And die.
That's a good way of looking at it, Rick. Natural selection.
But not in the
because
way we thought,
right. But it's because I have been, racking my brain from day one of this pandemic, trying to understand what else the public health sector, what else the media, what else educators could possibly say. I mean, I know the politicians have been playing, all of this game of confusion, but nevertheless, to me, there was a fairly consistent voice from the scientific community. Wash your hands, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, avoid social gatherings, and we'll get through this. And so to me, the fact that people aren't hearing that, so many people aren't hearing it or adhering to it, I think I like looking at it like that, Rick, as a form of natural selection. Like you are volunteering.
On their deathbeds, they still said it's a hoax and the hospital poisoned them.
Yes.
It's like, okay, are you supposed to live? Because at one point you're so inadequate to your own safety that it's like, maybe it's a trigger. Maybe nature found a trigger. Let's use moronery. Let's use idiocy as a system. It's always been like that. Like why? And when I was a kid, I always thought that a pandemic would lead to a cult saying, praise the virus. Praise the virus. It is punishment for our sins. Nobody's coming with that. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. But I mean, and I have promised myself that I'm going to stop talking about Donald Trump. I call up Venita and I scream at her that the media won't stop talking about this monster.
It's because
but I do want to say
you can't give up on an
ex
like that.
Huh?
It's because even if your relationship was toxic with your ex, you still have that thing. That habit.
Yeah.
Waking up in the morning getting angry at Donald Trump. I miss that. I miss that a little bit.
For those MAGA people, they've got to be going through something, like right now in a withdrawal, kind of way.
Cognitive dysfunction.
And they're going to be looking.
But there's a new theory
for their leader.
The new theory. There's a new theory. The new theory is that Abraham Lincoln destroyed the Republic of the United States and replaced it with the Corporation of the United States through a declaration, a cryptic declaration of 1861. I don't know. Whatever. So, people say, listen, Trump said the next administration. He didn't say Joe Biden. And Joe Biden himself said the previous administration. What it means is that Joe Biden is the last president of the Corporation of the United States. And Donald Trump, on March 21st, like it used to be before the Civil War, will be declared president of the Republic of the United States.
Oh, God. I can't take anymore.
And I can't find a gun in anywhere in the tri-state area to finish it up with myself. Like, because when I hear that, I'm like, give me a cake. Oh, I don't have a gun. Thank God. Because
If
that's
you
immediate
find one,
suicide to me when I hear that.
if you find one, do me first, please.
Oh no, I'm thinking about cyanide, finding poison for myself. Just not, if I ever hear a QAnon guy, I'll be done.
Yeah.
Over. No, because.
All right, you guys. All right.
But it's gonna be okay. You know why? Because New York City, I know we're at high risk, but remember it's the 5th day we're seeing the rate of positivity reducing. I'm in actually one of the highest contaminated zone. We're at 25% in Flushing right now for people. I survive. But what I'm saying is that New York people wear their masks, and the tri-state area is still. I think people are more disciplined in other areas. I'm not saying it's everywhere perfect, but the good thing is we're not in the middle of Kentucky, where really they don't wear masks. I have friends living there; they don't go out at all because nobody wears a mask. Nobody cares.
Wow.
Like it's like I had a friend tell me he went to a mall in Knoxville, Tennessee. He lives there now. He said maybe 15% of people were wearing masks, and that was a week ago. So,
All right. One last one last joke question before you leave. If you were Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden, would you have moved into the White House just hours after those Trumpers had departed?
I think so because I heard that they sent in CDC unit. They disinfected it for 6 hours with things like those light things that they use in subways are ultra expensive and stuff. They used like the tip top technology, and also I heard they replaced the toilet bowls entirely. They just moved it and boom. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I got my godmother's in West Palm Beach. Our house is actually like maybe 15 minutes walk from Mar-a-Lago. I know people there, even people voted Trump, and they voted for him for taxes because they're the old idiots who have property. They don't want him around. Not because
Yeah.
they don't care about politics. They still like him, but he's a pain in the ass when he's West Palm Beach. He
Yeah,
blocks every road. He puts. That's why people don't want him to live there. By the way, he's not supposed to live there.
but we don't want him back here in New York.
No,
So
I want him back in New York. I want him to walk the streets. Come on, come on. They need to have some New York salt from that time. No, come back, please, please be our guest. It's New York. We'll take them. Come on, come on. No, you're not moving to New Jersey or Westchester. You're staying here, Trump Tower. With the Black Lives Matter sign down your bedroom now.
he's from Queens. Let him go back to Queens. Venita, you're muted. Come and say goodbye to us.
Venita,
Well,
you fell.
Are you there?
it's been real.
That was scary.
Can't get out.
Venita, are you okay?
And you can't get out.
No, it can't get out. No, actually, my iPad slipped out the jacket. My iPad slipped out the jacket. You remember that commercial? I've fallen and I can't get up. You need to commit suicide when you start saying that. But
that's one of my great fears
no,
that I'm just gonna quit
it's been
right
real.
here
It's been
on
real. But I'm gonna tell you. No, but I'm gonna give you one funny thing that happened, and I'm gonna leave. Melania just opened up her office with her staff. For what? She has opened up an office and has staffed her office with people. For what?
Right.
Because be best. Hello, be best. By initiative, be best against bullying is important so that every child in America knows they are loved and precious. be best. So seriously,
You do that
that's her
well.
speech right away. Be best.
Yes.
You're like, no, that's. And I always say,
Yeah.
and we hope we can be best.
Well, I just wanted to tell y'all that, give you something to sit on until next time. And no, we will never stop talking about Donald Trump because he's such a big part. He was a big part of our almost death. And for many, it was death. So he's not going to go away. Anyways,
Oh, no,
right.
don't forget, he doesn't wear a mask. And
That's
there's
true.
a new strain.
That's true.
Yeah.
This time he's not going to Walter Reed.
Oh, shoot. That gives me hope. That gives me hope. It really
I
does.
know.
It gives me a lot of hope.
And Don Jr. should stop cocaine because it's a risk factor.
Yes.
No, give him more. Give him a ton. Give him the full bag. Come on. Pablo, give
Yeah.
me.
I'm telling you. Okay, Michelle. Rick, good night.
everybody.
Real.
Stay safe.
See you next week.
See you next week. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.